Good, thank you.
You're on your throne there, huh?
He's on the floor right now.
No, I mean your chair.
Oh, yeah.
Very comfortable.
Busier than usual.
Oh.
Yeah. A lot of business.
Monday.
Dan, where are we? I missed last week. Where are we up to?
We're in Ezekiel 39.
Okay, good.
We're in,
Good. I was getting tired of Luke.
we're in Don't say that. No, we're in chapter 20.
20, okay.
Verse 20.
Okay, I'll let you on.
Father John is going to explain Revelations to us in 30 seconds or less.
No, I'm not.
I thought Father Nate did a good job of explaining the apocalypse yesterday. The end.
Vito, what are you doing sitting on this side?
He likes the view.
You like the view?
I like the view
Real
from more.
estate?
Yeah.
So, there you go. Urban renewal.
If you can't beat them, Jim. If you can't
Join
beat
'em.
them,
Join 'em.
kill them. I'll join them. Yeah.
Kill 'em.
Is Jeff Schwanek away, gone, or?
No, Jeff was with us this morning.
Just curious.
How's Larry doing?
Larry is, I just was talking to Dan, Larry's gonna be going into a facility on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the best for him because he was gonna be a danger to himself, you know,
Yeah, huh?
it was getting pretty bad.
Is it local?
No, he's
No
gonna
S
be up,
on the end of it.
he's gonna be up in Charlton where his son lives.
Revelation, singular.
No S. And as Nate said the other, Jesus is the answer.
That's it.
It shall be revealed.
That's what Revelation means, or the apocalypse means. It's an unveiling or an unfolding.
Yeah, in other words, Paul prays like in Ephesians 1 that they will have a revelation, in other words, insight and understanding as to what Christ has done and who he is. And so that's the same word, apocalypse.
Yeah.
It just means, as Father John put it, it's something we haven't seen now is becomes visible to us. That's what we need
It's
to
not
know.
much clearer.
Well, you said you were fighting.
I'm a slow learner.
Just don't get bogged down
Hey,
in
Jeff,
trying to figure out
if you-
everything
if
by
you
the
under-
numbers.
If you understand everything now, you'll have nothing to ask God when you meet him face to face. Okay?
We went through Revelation last year. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and begin. The Lord be with you.
So with you.
And I pray that for each of us, as we look afresh at the Gospel of Luke, the good news that Luke was seeking to share not only with his audience of one Theophilus, but beyond that, to millions of people through the ages and their hearts as well. So let's pray that we will each have a revelation tonight, a better understanding to see Jesus.
Amen.
And let's pray. Lord, we come, we're thirsty, we're hungry, probably tired. We've come from our own individual circumstances and dealing with stuff. We pray that you will meet with us in a special way tonight, that you will open our hearts. You promise to give living water, and you promise that he who drinks from you will never thirst again. And we long, Lord, to have that bread of life, the water of life. You are the light of the world. And we pray, Lord, that you be all those things to us afresh tonight as we look at you and what you did and what you are seeking to do in our lives today. We ask, expecting in the name of Christ. Amen. Okay.
Before we start, how's your wife doing?
A bit better, thank you. Yes, the pain is a little less severe, and she's limited in her mobility, but at least she was able to sit up in bed this morning before I had to kind of pull her out because it put too much pressure on her. And if she coughs and sneezes and all that, it's very painful, as you know. All right,
For those of us in the dark, can you give us a 30-second overview?
Yeah, we were in a fight, and, you know, I was that being taped? Be arrested. No, she picked up our puppy and was turning into in our living room, and her foot slipped and she went into the wall, but where the corner was like that, she hit that part and it hit here and she cracked a rib. So I took her in the urgent care last Friday and they said, well, you could x-ray it if you want, but it'll make any difference, you know, whether you know or not. It's probably a severe contusion or a cracked rib, probably a fracture. So that's what we're dealing with. She's coming on.
Okay.
It'll take up to 6 weeks, they say. Good. Okay, well, tonight we're gonna talk about taxes. This is Jim Miller's favorite.
No, it's actually Dave Williams. He talked about cheating on taxes.
Oh, whoa.
I confess.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to come clean, recognize it.
And what does the word entrapment mean? Entrapment.
Instead of trap or something.
It's a trap.
Is to set something up and there's a catch.
Right. Now, there's a legal aspect to it, I understand, but as we come into this segment, in chapter 20, the Pharisees are seeking to entrap Jesus. And at the end is they themselves end up being in the trap instead of Jesus. But let's read this short account. And so there's a lot in this, and you've heard sermons on it before, but I've talked about it and struggled with some of the applications or implications of it. So from verse 20 down through 26, will somebody kindly read that for us?
Sure. Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Go for it.
Okay, keeping a close watch on him, they sent spies who pretended to be honest. They hoped to catch Jesus in something he said, so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the governor. So the spies questioned him, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and what you do does not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" He saw through their duplicity and said to them, "Show me a denarius. Whose portrait and inscription are on it?" "Caesar's," they replied. He said to them, "Then give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's." They were unable to trap him in what he had said there in public, and astonished by his answer, they became silent.
Yeah, so who were these spies? Who do you think they were who came in?
They were probably sent by the Pharisees, probably scribes, people who were knowledgeable of the law.
I think so, yeah. And they pretended to be honest or sincere.
Must be rough for Pharisees and
So,
scribes.
so what was their purpose? What were they trying to accomplish?
They're probably trying to have him say something in the effect against Caesar and the Romans, so they could have him arrested and get him out of the picture.
Why do you think they're turning to this route rather than something within Scripture or the religious side?
They couldn't refute them, as far as Scripture was concerned.
They were trying to hang him on one account, that didn't work, so now they went the legal route to see if they couldn't get him to say something that would put him in trouble and perhaps arrested or seen as a threat to the Roman government. And notice how they butter him up. You think it was sincere?
No.
It says, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth." And it's true, he does. But they were hoping for something else. How these were sent by the Pharisees? How do you think the Sadducees as well? Doesn't this sound a little bit duplicitous because how had he described the Pharisees previously? How had he described them?
Right.
Yeah, he'd been pretty harsh. I mean, he had really blasted them before, and you know, said, "Woe to you," and "Woe to you," and on and on. So it seemed a little strange that they were now standing as, "Oh, you're such a faithful, you know, accurate, wise teacher." Yeah, and but it says they pose this question. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? What are the ramifications? Whichever way he answers on them, what are the implications?
He's going to probably go to jail if he says it's okay to not pay the taxes to the Roman government.
Okay.
And of course, the government would punish him.
Yeah. And if he said it wasn't okay, what was the problem? I mean, if he said it was okay, then what was the other side of it?
Well, we've had crowds against him.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, it's a political issue.
Yeah, it was a double-edged sword. Either way, they hope to hang him, or, you know, get him in trouble. If he said, no, we shouldn't pay taxes, then obviously there was the legal issue. If he said, yeah, we should, then obviously the people were very resentful of what's called the poll tax or the census tax. And every male was required to do this annually. And they usually did it around Passover time when they came into Jerusalem. And so, but what's interesting is that how does he set the stage? How does he make his point in verse 23?
Well, he has to see a coin. He has to see a standard Roman coin. And then he says, well, whose picture is there? Is it the
So
Roman guy?
who had the coin?
He had the
Sadducee.
spy. Spy.
What are they doing with Roman currency? They're
In a temple.
trying to set him up for something that they're guilty of themselves, supporting the Roman government. And that was legal tender. They had the shekel, but in terms of buying, when it came to Passover or other major festivals, they had to use Roman coins in order, and they had they had those. That was for normal currency use. But when they came, they had to have that changed into the temple coins, and at an exorbitant rate. And so, but here they are. They already are having to support the system now. They're trying to pin him for if he would support them.
What you just described, Dan, is the beginning of the banking business.
Yeah, you know all about that, don't you? Yeah. And but in showing them the denarius, and when he says whose image and inscription on it, or you know, and they say Caesar's, and he says then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. How does that work in our lives? This principle.
Again, Jesus reminds us that there are two levels. There's the earthly level and then the godly
Okay.
level. And
Can you break that down into sort of specific actions in real life?
It's you have to live in this world. You have to pay taxes. You have to buy food. You have to do all these things. But then comes to the other side of your life. What do you do with your money? You do what we've been instructed in Matthew's Gospel. You do the poor, you know, things like that with your money. It's how you use your money. That's part of it. And when you use your money in that fashion, it's serving God.
Well, the dollar bill is a picture of George Washington. George Washington was an Episcopalian. So we have to get some of the money to the Episcopalians.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thanks for the history lesson.
Yeah.
What's on our coinage? What's on our coinage? On all of our coinage, pretty much it's all past presidents. You've got the Kennedy, Lincoln.
That's not what I mean.
Oh,
What
wow.
is on every coin we have?
In
Yeah,
God.
God
I trust.
And what are we saying when we're doing what we do with our money?
Interesting that we do that.
That's a good question.
Interesting, huh?
Trusting God. But you know something.
Are we though? That's what I mean.
You know something very interesting, that in God we trust was not a law until 1957. It was Eisenhower that had them put it on the currency.
Do you remember the prologue to that? He said, America needs religion. I don't particularly care which one.
Well,
Eisenhower said that?
Yeah.
I shook Eisenhower's hand, by the way, just.
Oh, wow.
just to-
Oh,
See, I was too young to remember Eisenhower.
Mike was a Presbyterian.
Yeah, it was.
His wife was a spiritualist, and she was.
I wasn't too religious.
It was in the early 1950s. I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and he was running for president, or was president, and he was in a parade coming down the street, open car and going slow, and I just reached up my hand and we shook.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. And also Kennedy's hand too. No, I lied. It wasn't his hand. It was a wave. All right.
Dan,
Yeah.
if I can just add one other thing. The Jews had their own currency. And they bartered and traded and everything in their own part of the area. What Jesus is really saying, what are you doing with a picture of Caesar on the coinage you're using, and with the imprimatur that in essence, Caesar at this point proclaims himself as God. Get this filthy currency out of it. Render to Caesar what's it? Give it away, use yours. And it's also idolatry.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. So what does it mean to give God what belongs to God? What belongs to God?
Everything.
Well, spell that out a little bit.
Well, all that we have it's gifted from God. I mean, we earn it, but it's through the grace of God that we're able to earn whatever we have. And then we should be able to return it. He only asked for 10%. It's a lot less than the mob does. So
How do you know that, Vito?
I don't know. So
Last name is Genovese.
Corleone.
So in Romans, is it chapter 12, where Paul talks about obeying the law and so forth, that God has established institutions. Family is one of them, but also legal systems to provide safety and order and provide basic security and the welfare of a group of citizens. And so, in one hand, yeah, it was hard for these Jewish believers, or the Jews of the time, to live under an oppressor. I mean, a government, a country that had come in and by force and taken over. At the same time, they had the benefit of Roman roads for commerce, and those road systems and all that went with it provided a degree of safety, in travel. They had the benefit of a number of things that were provided by the Pax Romana, by the Roman government. Likewise, we too, when it says, give to Caesar that which is Caesar, how does that apply to us? Let's talk a little bit more about it. You touched on it.
Yeah, we have to pay taxes, like I mentioned, Dan. We pay real estate taxes, state taxes. I mean, we're taxed to death, and it's supposedly for the better good.
And there are laws, everything from speed laws to all kinds of other restrictions for their welfare and safety. In other words, we're under a police system. I don't mean it in a bad sense, but for our safety and security, you call 911, and what happens? You'll probably get an ambulance there. That's not true in many places in the world.
The other thing about Jesus' time, the Roman government provided enough safety for commerce to flourish.
That's right.
Before that, it was all pirates. You couldn't ship anything anywhere. We could take them to the bad guys.
So there were a lot of benefits that they got, even though that was a system that they were unhappy with, but still. And likewise, we don't like everything that our government may do, but there's a certain sense we get benefits, and therefore we owe. And on the other hand, let's talk a little bit more about what it looks like to give God that which is God's. Sort of, what would that look like in a given week for you?
Well, part of it's faith, to have faith in God, to have faith in Jesus, beyond paying taxes, beyond traveling the roads and not speeding. It's good, it's fine, it's not enough.
Okay, let's translate that into action. What kind of actions would demonstrate you're giving to God that which is God's?
Supplying jackets, socks, food, drink.
Time challenge, right?
Stewardship of what He's given us, participating in worship services that enrich our lives and provide support and services and healing and help to others. In other words, serving Him in the big and little things. We're very, I'm really, if I can say it this way, I'm really proud of St. Paul's. I'm so impressed with the generosity in the little things as well as the big things. But at the same time, in my daily life, am I giving Him time? Time in the sense of Bible study or prayer, spending 10 minutes, whether it's a YouVersion app Bible app on your phone, or picking up this, or going through a daily reading kind of thing, whether it's the Book of Common Prayer, whatever, but giving Him a block of time and He says, by the way, God, I recognize you, and you're the Lord of my life, and I want to serve you, and I want to be part of whatever you want to do today. And so it translates into behavior as well as belief, giving to God that which He's owed. Any other comments or any testimonies you want to preach a little bit?
I just like Nate's letter in the mail that we got this past week. I thought it was remarkably honest and open about himself. I think it took a lot of courage to write that. This is, I haven't been in a church like this in a long time. And yet, we can, I don't think we can, according to the scriptures anyway, allow our doing things to satisfy us in terms of our financial support of the church as well. And I guess it was the Thursday group. If I told you this before, just shut me up. About 2006, 2007, there's a column in Long Island Newsday once a week called Ask the Clergy. I have no idea, I was only an interim, how I got on the list. But I was asked, the question of the week was in the fall, how much should someone give to the church? And you can always come up with a classic time, talent, treasure, 110. But I was brought up short when I was thinking about it by something that C.S. Lewis said. He always brings me up short. And he said, if our charities don't pinch, it's a sure sign we're not giving enough. They should make us give up some pleasure, if you like, that we really don't need, and give it away to the church, the poor. Now, Lewis had a lot of advantages in being a professor at Oxford and Cambridge in terms of his housing, his meals, all that sort of stuff, his income from royalties. And he did not even know how wealthy a person he was because he gave away, his attorney told him, 70% of his income. 70%. And still had plenty to live on. But he prioritized what he was doing. And I was going through, what do you call it, the other day, BJ's, because Costco didn't have any White Sox at that time. I don't know if they have them, and there were BJ's, and I passed by something, I like the looks of that. And then I asked myself the very bad question to ask oneself, do I really need it? so it reminded me of where my treasure needs to go.
There's a Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, who has the phrase, "You have enough." Like the song.
If you have, as long as we're on this topic, I want to raise the question, when is it not right to render unto Caesar what he asks?
When it goes against God's word.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Well, if trying to think of a situation.
I'll tell you, Peter, right off the bat, it's giving money to the government that's being used to fund abortion. That is against God's will. Definitely. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to stop that thing.
Yeah.
But you can support organizations like Hopeline that advise people and help people, and there's a couple of other organizations you can do too. But that to me is a genocide of the most innocent people in our society, and we let them get away with it.
Any
What am
other-
I flipping?
Brenda blesses you.
I know she does. I had to say that in her honor tonight.
Dan, have you ever been to Churro Church? Churro Church in Fairfax, Virginia?
No.
Churro Church in Fairfax, Virginia, just outside of Washington, is a very wealthy area. A lot of big bucks. And Sue and I were down in Washington for a conference, and we decided to go to church there on a Sunday morning. And just like here, you have a private space for first-time visitors. Very nice. So we got to park in the private space, and we wondered where everybody else was parking, because you had to get bus down from the big parking lot, which had to be at least a half a mile from the church. And they were reporting on stewardship. Here's the thing that struck me. 50% of the parish tithes financially. Forget the other stuff. Another 20% was working toward the tithe. They had $1 million program in outreach with no fundraising. And that is, just statistically, that's mind-boggling that their first priority was always giving to the church.
Coming back, thank you. Coming back to the issue, when is it right not to submit to Caesar? We talked about one instance. Are there some other
Well,
situations?
this is not necessarily monetary, but a CEO of conscientious objectives.
I didn't hear you, Bill.
Conscientious
Oh.
is yeah, which were many, a few of them, and some Quakers that went to prison for their belief in God. And it's not monetary, but it's the system. They would not kill for what they wanted to happen.
The other side is just think, in terms your boss asks you to rearrange some statistics or alter the financial statement. So what do?
Say no.
At the risk of losing your job?
With the risk of losing your soul.
So there's a lot of practical situations where you're coerced or asked to do something that you know violates what you believe is a biblical standard, a biblical principle. And it can be difficult because of social pressure in your own circumstances. You know, if I lose my job, what happens to my family? You know, I've known some guys who've lost their jobs because they wouldn't comply with unethical practices in the business. You know? And but there's this balance between living with a system that's not perfect or administered perfectly, and refusing to submit to it. Turn to Romans chapter 13 for just a second. Romans chapter 13, and just verses 1 through 7. This is one of the places where Paul spells out fairly clearly what it means to submit to the governing authorities. And of course, remember what was the system that the believers in Rome were living under, or the other parts of the Roman Empire. They had Nero and others. Could someone read chapter 13, just 1 through 7?
Sure. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror to those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give everyone what you owe him. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor.
It reminds me of Chariots of Fire. Eric Liddell,
Yeah, right.
same principle.
Do you remember the line? When he's not running in the Olympics in the 100 meters at the end of it, do you remember it?
Oh, you mean the two, and the way they were, the people, ambassadors, whatever.
No,
Oh,
not that.
him?
This is after the race is won. He's watched Abraham's
Yeah.
win the 100 meters. And his coach turns to him in the stand and says, "Any regrets?" And Little says, "Regrets? Yeah. Doubts? No." And that grabs it really well. Yeah, I would like to have been out there trying to win. But
Okay.
The people who gave up their jobs because of ethics, they all get another job?
Yes, wasn't ideal. It
But
wasn't at the same level financially,
But they were able to comply.
but they walked away with a good, I'm reporting, they walked away with a deep sense of, was it difficult? Regrets? Yeah, but was it any doubts? No. There was a sense they felt they did what they had to do. Obedience sometimes is costly. Remember what Jesus said? If you follow me, you must what? Give up your life.
Sure.
And follow me instead. So it can be difficult.
You know, Dan, though, I never really thought about this section of Romans. When it says, everyone must submit himself to governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. So, submitting yourself to an authority like Germany, 1936, 1939, Stalin, 50s, Mao Zedong. I mean, this is a troubling piece of scripture because
I don't think God established guys like Hitler.
I don't think so
I
either.
think it's okay to rebel against the authority like that. I might be good
Well,
on
it's
screen here.
complicated. I mean, I have friends in China who struggle with right now there's a serious crackdown on some of the large house churches in Beijing and elsewhere in other major cities. China's gone through this thing. They use the big stick at times, and then they'll back off, and then they'll use the little stick. That's the expression that they use. Sometimes they'll come in and they'll do house raids. They'll break in and arrest people and blah blah. And so it's very difficult to know what to obey because of compliance. They don't like the government, but these are rules and laws. I talked to one of my seminary professors. His name was George Peters, Dr. George Peters, and he was in Western Russia during the Bolshevik Revolution. And he said in his area, the government changed about 4 times within a matter of practically weeks. And he says, any system is better than no system. And so I'm not saying, I struggle with this, that God allowed Germany, Hitler's rise, or Mao Zedong, or Pol Pot in Cambodia, and on. You say, with Hamas, you think, why are these allowed? And that's a big question. We don't have all the answers. But,
well, he also allowed a lot of the kingdoms in Jesus' time and before Jesus that were not good to arise.
that's right. Yeah.
The Pharaoh, and he used them for his purpose. And anybody there that did not, that the Israelites were mistreated by, say. So yeah, it's tough. It's a difficult pill to swallow. But I mean, if you read this, you can't. How do you discern?
So we need to be. All I'm saying is, I think we need to be cautious and careful about what we assume. I can't obey this because
Right.
this is an evil system, and therefore, and it takes discernment to know when we just have to suffer and live under it, and hope to stay under the.
Well, we're going through it now. I mean, either in the last regime or this regime of presidents, people are, doing either they didn't like what Biden did, or they're not liking what Trump did, or they do. We're still going through it, but we got to believe that God is in charge.
Look at Bonhoeffer. He rebelled against Hitler and ended up being put to death.
Look at what he did first. Just before that, he was safe here in the United States at Union Seminary, and he knew if what he wrote was going to have any effect, he had to go back to Germany, and he would return to certain death, and he was executed, of course. But he could not write what he had written and not live up to it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a big topic. A lot of books, a lot of ink has been spilled on the believer's connection with governments and how to function within them.
Dan, can I just add one thing to that? Look at, for examples, Martin Luther King, okay, disobedient to practice law, but nonviolent. He disobeyed the law and was willing to go to jail for breaking the law, but it opened eyes. The same thing could have been said of Gandhi. You can do it non-violently. Both of them, it cost them their lives, but changes were wrought.
So just as Jesus said, the road ain't gonna be smooth.
What did he promise you?
Jesus?
Yeah.
Be with him eternally, hopefully.
He promised you a cross. There's a wonderful line. It hit me broadside in Tom Wright's book, The Day the Revolution Began. He says this: the way the victory of the cross must be achieved by the means of the cross. So, as Bonhoeffer said, Bonhoeffer didn't say, "Come follow me." Jesus didn't say, "Come follow me and be safe." He said, "Die to yourself and live to me." And in the process, you may die.
And some of the questions on Bonhoeffer should he have participated in that attempt to kill Hitler by a bomb brought into the.
Good point.
So some say, was that using means that were.
It's a Christian means that's
I want to bless you. Boom. Okay, let's move on then into this next section, the resurrection and marriage. Father maybe touched on this a couple of weeks ago in his messages, but let's pick it up. Verse 27 down through 40. Would someone like to read that for us? some of the Sadducees.
There came to him some Sadducees, those who deny that there is a resurrection, and they asked him a question, saying, Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, having a wife but no children, the man must take the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first took a wife and died without children, and the second and the third took her, and likewise all 7 left no children and died. Afterward the woman also died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife will the woman be? For the 7 had her as wife. And Jesus said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy to attain that age and to the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage, for they cannot die anymore, because they are equal to angels and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But that the dead are raised, even Moses showed in the passage about the bush, where he calls the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Now he is not God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. Then some of the scribes answered, Teacher, you have spoken well, for they no longer dared to ask him any question.
Sadducees. Why in the world did the Sadducees bring this question up with Jesus?
Because they didn't believe in the resurrection.
Why? Why didn't they believe it? Anybody else know besides you? Because they couldn't, the Sadducees only accepted the books of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. They didn't feel that the rest of the Old Testament was given by God. And they couldn't find any direct mention of the resurrection within the first 5 books. Therefore, they said there's no resurrection. On the other hand, did the Pharisees believe in the resurrection?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. And they got that from some other place, the clearances in Daniel, you know. And but at any rate, so the Sadducees, they came and they thought, we're gonna trap this guy theologically. Before it was politically, or you know, now theologically, they're trying to entrap him. It's just variations of the theme, and so they come up with this ridiculous, you know, analogy of all these. A man dies and on it goes. So who in the world? He's got 7 wives, 7 brothers. I think there was a movie by that name.
7 Brides of the Same Brothers. Pretty good movie.
A long time ago. Anyway, so then he states in verse 34, the people of this age marry and then are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and in the resurrection will neither marry nor be given in marriage. What do you think about that? Does that mean that I won't have a relationship with my wife when I'm in heaven? Or people who have lost a spouse and remarried, or divorced and remarried, and in some cases several times. My brother was married 4 times. And he finally came to faith, and so I don't know.
And to a census.
So what is Jesus saying? They're not like, what's his point? What's he trying to say?
We don't have earthly bodies anymore. We have spiritual bodies. And the needs for the spiritual body are not the same as the needs for the earthly body. I mean, we'll know people. I mean, that's the whole reason that we want to go to heaven, so we can see the people that have gone on before us. But it won't be the same type of relationship. And I think even also with parents, you know, you're not going to have a mother and father or brother and sister. You know, but Jesus is your brother and God your father, and everybody else is just children of God.
And my son and daughter-in-law, after my granddaughter Charlotte was killed in San Diego school shooting, they said to me, "Will we have a chance to parent How would you respond to that?
I would say, ask God when you see him.
Obviously, Jesus here is trying to show that there life will be a bit different. There's continuity to some extent, but at the same time there will be difference. It's sort of we go from this very close, spousal relationship, husband and wife, and all that is involved with that. But being in heaven, where there's a bigger family, that goes beyond just couples. If you're single, now sometimes we can feel, or they can feel left out. But there's a different kind of way we'll relate to each other in the future. I don't think, I hope, I'm sure, I know you're looking forward to seeing Brenda. What would the relationship be like then? Don't know. But it won't be the same, apparently, that it was during our earthly lives. I don't think there'll be regrets or shame like, oh, I'm missing out, But what it'll look like, we don't know for sure.
Well, it says that we're God's children, children of the resurrection, so God's our Father, so we know that.
Yeah.
So the whole relationship that we have here on earth is turned upside down because we're going home to the Father, that's what we say, so,
That's a good point, Jim, right. It will be part of a family, so we won't be in isolation. There'll be meaningful, wonderful connection without the complications that we have now as human. And so,
Thank you. I always thought that the afterlife of the Pharisees was not comparable to a fully developed one as Christians. Am I correct on that?
that's true.
Okay.
I mean, they hadn't read Romans. First Corinthians 15, for example.
I was going to mention that next.
Yeah. So, he said they no longer die. They are like angels, not like we'll have wings and be floating around. But, well, that sounds kind of cool. But he says they are God's children. And he's the Father, as you put it. And the children of the resurrection. What does that phrase mean to you? Children of the resurrection.
We'll be reborn.
Yeah.
A whole new system.
We're born into a whole new life. And there's continuity. Paul makes that really clear in 1 Corinthians 15. You plant the seed, and what comes up will not look like the seed is, just this thing. It turns into a turnip or a petunia or, a tree. And it's all different. And so there's continuity genetically, but there's a difference, obviously, between now and then. And but then in verse 37, to sort of prove his point about, and this, who's he talking to again? The Sadducees.
Sadducees.
And why didn't the Sadducees believe in the resurrection?
Because they were sad, you see.
Sadducees.
The first 5 books.
What? You've been waiting all night.
Good joke, Larry.
I heard it a long time ago.
Yes,
So why don't they believe in the resurrection?
because it wasn't in the book of Moses.
So where does he quote from?
The first-
Quotes in the book of Moses.
From Exodus chapter 3, verse 6. He takes them right to a source. Now, I'm not sure I would go there first, this logic, but I've really been pondering this. How does he get from here to there? How does he get from this to that there is resurrection life? So let's look at that for a minute. In verse 37, it says, "But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He's not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive." How does that prove that there's a resurrection?
Because they all died. And Moses was still living together with God. So that's the new life.
He's not the God of the dead. He's the God of the living. And who showed up on what was the mountain? Mount Tabor. When
Peter and James and John
Peter,
and Elijah.
with Elijah
And Moses.
Moses showed up. Yeah. And they were recognizable. Don't know how, because I'm not sure. They had their photos in Peter's, phone app on his gallery, but his name.
Like the people in McDonald's.
But in that one, he's the God of the living and not of the dead. And so that Paul later, in 2 Thessalonians, he's trying to help these Christians there understand that whether we wake or whether we sleep, in other words, whether we've already died or whether we're living now, we will all be together with the Lord. So there's no break of relationship, whether we're dead or living. We'll all be reunited and reconnected with the God of the living. So what was the reaction of the Pharisees or the Sadducees when they heard this?
Well, they tucked their tail between their legs and left. Said, no, there are no more questions.
It was interesting. Some of them said, well said, teacher. So
Yeah.
he was actually getting to some of these guys.
Yeah. They got the point. They got the message. And I hope they got some hope. And we know that some of these very people in Acts chapter 3 and 2 come to faith. Some of the priests themselves, many says, came to faith. So the gospel was for Sadducees and Pharisees as well as for blind Bartimaeus or Zacchaeus, the tax collector. Any questions or further comments?
Yeah, I think you made an excellent point before. When we die, we go to be with our Lord. And wherever that is, the end of the gospel, Jesus says to the thief, in paradise, not in some faraway thing in the clouds. And we wait until the second coming. I think what happens, Tom Wright said something it's humorous, but it's also true. Have you ever looked in a coffin and said to yourself, about the body, he or she was only a shadow of their former self? And Wright says, not true. They're only a shadow of their future self. And so the risen body will be one of joy that we can't even imagine, because sin and death are not part of the new heaven and the new earth. So we're going to be looking at glorified bodies. We do not abandon the relationships we have, but they won't function like we follow them here, because that sort of thing won't be necessary.
It's good. Yeah. We don't have time to go into detail. And this is the next little section is challenging to understand. And many of theologians are wrestling with this, and especially trying to unravel Psalm 110, from which Jesus quotes. But let's just read it. In verse just 41 down to 44. Someone else read that for us, please?
Then Jesus said to them, why is it that the Messiah is the son of David? David himself declares in the book of Psalms, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. David calls him Lord. How then can he be the son? Another mystery.
What was the issue here? Jesus was picking up what was being reported and said about him, and he was remember the triumphal entry. What were they proclaiming?
Jesus, the son of David.
That he was being described as the son of David, and in their minds, what did that look like?
a military leader.
On a white horse, the whole deal, yeah. And so, at issue, what's at stake here? What's the primary issue that Jesus is trying to drive home?
Well, they're contesting his divinity, are they not? Is that the core of it?
They just don't get the fact that David's son would be Messiah, but he would also, that also meant he was God. They just saw him as a historical figure in the story who would restore things, but not necessarily in all that we understand. And so he quotes from Psalm 110. And there's some interesting play on word in the Hebrew here. I had 3 years of Hebrew, all of which I've forgotten. But at any rate, Psalm 110, verse 1 says, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." How does this say? What does this say about the Son of David, about Jesus?
Well, he's always existed. Just on the face of it, it does sound absurd that David would call his grandson his Lord.
Any other thoughts?
Like David was called Lord because he was the king, but he's referring to his God, and he calls his God Lord in reference to Christ, and that he would place him at the right hand of his footstool. So David is recognizing that Jesus, God, the triune God, is his Lord.
But wasn't it somewhere in the Old Testament prophets that the Messiah would be from the stem of David?
The root of Jesse, David's father. Yeah. He says here, the Lord Yahweh said to my Lord Adonai, sit at my right hand. And what does this seem to indicate? That between David, the historical person, and God, the Lord, capital L, there's another person, authoritative person, Messiah. And so he's trying to help them understand that he's more than the son of David just in historical lineage, that he's really the fulfillment of all that was prophesied and promised regarding the Messiah, what he would do to deliver his people and to offer forgiveness. And ultimately, from Zechariah and other places, we see it would mean Isaiah 53, the giving of his life. That's the part they didn't understand. And so he's using this song to show that he's more than just a historical person. That he's in the lineage of David to fulfill that promise that David would always have to bear. But he's Messiah who will live and die and rise again and restore his people. So David is calling the Messiah actually Lord, meaning himself. And therefore, how can he be just his physical son? Any questions? Hopefully not.
Hundreds of questions.
Yeah, there's a lot here, and I wish we had a little more time to dig into it. But the Psalm 110 is one of the most quoted psalms in the New Testament. And 105 and verse 5 of 110 also, we'll get to it later. It's also used elsewhere as a quote. So it's an important song. But I confess, I spent a few hours trying to figure this one out, and I'm still not sure I fully understand it. But if I look at it in terms of between David and God, there's another person who's saying in authority, and that's the Messiah. And that's him.
It's Jesus.
All right, well, we'll bring this to a close. Well done. tomorrow, or next week, Lord willing, we'll pick up the first page 47. Anything you want to report or pray about?
I have two